welcome to Mr. Paul's Pantry. I'm Mr. Paul and I hope you're going to enjoy my latest recipe. And today we're making beef stew and dumplings. These are the ingredients you're going to need, first of all for the beef stew and secondly for the dumplings. Now don't worry, can't remember all this because they will be listed underneath the video in the description box, plus a full written recipe and description of the method on my website as well. Now we come to the meat. Cut it into nice reasonable sized chunks, and the next thing we have to do is to dust it with flour. This is for two reasons. One, when we're sealing it off in the frying pan beforehand, it gives a nice dark colour, and secondly, during the cooking it helps to thicken the gravy. Make sure all your meat is coated with the flour. This is important. And then you need to put the frying pan on a high heat. Now add your oil, and when that's hot and only when it's hot, start adding some meat. I do mine in two separate lots. I don't put it all in together, otherwise you tend to get a lot of moisture in the pan and that boils the meat instead of frying it. We don't want that. We've got to caramelise this. That means it's caramelising the sugars in the meat and the flour, and we're going to get a beautiful colour from it for the stew. We're going to get a beautiful taste, which is very much like when you roast a piece of meat. All those nice juices in the bottom are the tastiest part. We get those, and we'll also get some thickening. Now we'll remove this meat from this frying pan, and I'll show you at the bottom now what I'm talking about. If you look in the pan here, all those little bits and pieces, that's where the flavour, the colour and the thickening is. Don't throw it away. Now for my stew today I'm using two vegetables, just onions and carrots, for one simple reason. It's all I've got. I haven't been out shopping, I forgot about it, so that's what we're doing. You can add any vegetables you want, it makes no difference. Any vegetables you like and enjoy, pop them in there, nothing will spoil. Now add the meat, and what we've got to do now with the pan, put it back on a high heat, and when it's hot, add some of your stock. You'll see it start to bubble away there, see? And that will loosen all those little brown bits of caramelisation on the bottom of the pan. That's what we call in the trade deglazing the pan. You've probably heard chefs use that term on television. We're deglazing the pan, and I've still got a little bit more stock left, but now I'll pop the rest in, and then we're away to go, ready to put it into the stew. There you are. Now, you need to heat your oven, you need to put the pot on, not your oven, I beg your pardon. You need to put the pot onto a high heat, once the stock's added, and bring it to the boil. Once it's brought to the boil, turn it to a simmer, put the lid on, a nice tight fitting lid, and leave it for 1.5 to 2 hours. If you have a pressure cooker, I have, but I haven't used it today for the simple reason a lot of people don't have it or they don't know how to use it. I will go into that in another video. But 1.5 hours in this pot with the lid on, and it'll all be ready for the dumplings, which we will be making next, okay? Now your stew is cooking, and that'll take about 1.5 to 2 hours until the meat is tender. You don't need to start making these dumplings until about 15 minutes before your stew is ready. Now I'm adding the flour here and the baking powder. I'm going to put it through a sieve. You also, by the way, need to be presetting your oven, because we're going to finish the stew off and dumplings in the oven. And you need to set it at 180 degrees centigrade or 160 if it's a fan oven. Now here I'm adding the suet. Suet is the fat from around the kidney of an animal, and as we're using beef for the beef stew, we're using beef suet. Mix it gently with your fingers. Don't squash it together and rub it like you do when making pastry. That's very important. Very important. Add the water and then mix it gently. You can either use a fork, but I prefer to use this table knife, flat bladed knife, and just keep cutting it and turning it round. You will get a nice mixture. It'll be soft, slightly sticky. Don't worry about that, but don't, for heaven's sake, push it together heavy. You need to work very, very lightly with it. You'll see this when I tip it out for you. I just flour the board. And then tip my mixture out, and all I'm going to do is push it together. I'm not going to knead it. I'm not like I'm making bread or anything like that, because we want it as light as possible. So I'm just going to gently push it together, a bit like when you're making scones. I don't know if you make scones or not, but it's very, very similar sort of mixture. There we go, just pushing it gently together. I'm going to divide mine into 4. And when they go into the stew, we're going to put the whole thing then in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. And if you like your scones, if you like your dumplings crispy on top, leave the lid off the stew pot. If you like them soft, pop it on. Leave them in the oven for about, as I said, 15 to 20 minutes, and we're all set to go with a beautiful meal. And there we have it, beef stew and dumplings. And as you can see, the dumplings are light, fluffy, beautiful. The meat is falling apart, and the gravy is just right. Didn't need any extra thickening at all. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Don't forget to press the subscribe button below the video, and when you do, press the little bell at the side, and that will remind you every time I put up a new video. If you'd like to give it a thumbs up, you can also do that below the video, and please share it with your friends on social media. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.